Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Warren from the Palpatine Journal, and this is going to be my review for Ahsoka episodes 5 and 6 from a couple of weeks ago. Now, as I mentioned in my review for episodes 3 and 4 from last night, when we left our heroes and our villains, uh, they had succeeded in some of their objectives as far as the villains were concerned, and that they had managed to find a way to the other galaxy. They were in transit, and for our heroes, there were some things that they had to overcome. There was some really good lightsaber combat, a really good spaceship battle, and we started to get things moving along quite a bit. There was some political intrigue as well mixed in with the New Republic, and now episodes 5 and 6, they are like they just kind of go hyper focused. Episode 5 is all about following on from the end of episode 4, which is that Ahsoka loses her battle with Bill and Skull, and she finds herself in what we believe is the world between worlds. And she finds that Anakin, her former master, her friend, her mentor, is waiting for her. And, it's like, it's such a great feeling to have Hayden Christensen back. Like, I cannot describe how happy that makes me as a fan of the prequel movies, and especially being a fan of Anakin as a character and Hayden Christensen's performance. Now, just be warned, I'm going to discuss some spoilers from these two episodes in this show, and, we are quite a bit past the release date for both these episodes, so it's like spoilers are not that big a deal, but just in case that you want to avoid spoilers, you haven't seen the series yet, we're waiting for all of it to come out. There's just like one more week to go before it ends with episode 8 next week. Just be warned, there's going to be spoilers, quite a few of the spoilers, and some speculation as well. So, anyways, we start episode 5 with Ahsoka in the world between worlds, and she's facing off with Anakin, and they're having a little heart to heart about just what's going on with her. And like I said, so great to see Hayden Christensen back as Anakin. Makes me super happy. It was amazing to see him last year in Kenobi, and it's like I couldn't believe we got to see him in Kenobi, and then now we're seeing him in Ahsoka, and it's like it's really heartwarming, and it just cements my belief that Ahsoka is a show that is like writing so hard next to all these core things that make Star Wars what it is for me as a fan. My own personal experiences of watching the prequel movies, the original trilogy, and all the other shows and movies that have come out over the years. Now, the so here's the thing, right? The pacing of this episode is a little off, but that's because we're having this one like non-hurried moment between Ahsoka and Anakin, contrasted against the urgency of the scenes with Hera and Carson Teva, because sorry, they're trying to find out what happened with Ahsoka and Sabine because they got to the planet Cetos after they were disappeared, and it's just like they're just struggling, just like where is everybody? Where are the Imperials? Where are their friends? What happened? And all they know is that this massive space ring, hyperspace ring, just blasted off from the planet and killed one of their friends, one of the X-wing pilots that came with Hera. So it's like that, but at the same time, the writers really meshed the two storylines together with Jason, who is Hera and Kanan's son, and we see a little bit more of what his Jedi powers could be, because we do know that he has some Jedi powers, because at the end of episode 4, he's like, when the hyperspace ring leaves Cetos with Elspeth and the others, he's like, Mom, I have a really bad feeling. And it's like the way the actor portrays that moment, it's like, he really feels something deep inside. Like, it's not just like he's saying it because, it makes the scene, but it's like he really felt something and he's expressing that. And, we have that with the Ahsoka scenes, and it's like, it blew my mind because Anakin is like, your training is not finished. You left the order before we could culminate our relationship as master and apprentice, and we never got the chance to reconnect properly. Uh, Even though, just before the siege of Mandalore in the Clone Wars season 7, they meet, and Ahsoka's she wishes good luck to Anakin, and he's like about to go on this mission to tell the Chancellor things that the Council wants him to, and we've seen that happen in Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. So it's like the meeting between these two characters. It's been such a long time coming, even though in Rebels, and I believe it was season 2. Yeah, I think it was season 2, or maybe like early season 3. Ahsoka met with Vader. They had a battle, and Ahsoka kind of lost. But that's a discussion for another time. So here we have Christensen as Anakin, her mentor, her friend, her best buddy, in essence, right? The one who trained to be not just a peacekeeper, but a warrior. His own words. And it's like the whole sequence is just absolutely beautiful. We have flashbacks from their first mission together on the planet of Teth. We have flashbacks to the Siege of Mandalore. And then we have this resolution of the fight between these two. And Anakin is like, your lesson is you have a choice. Live or die. You lost your battle with Bill and Skull. So if you want to live, you have to make a decision. Or if you want to die and accept whatever the legacy of death and destruction that Skull taunted her about, you have to accept that and just die. So it's like we see this struggle inside Ahsoka come to the full, and it's like we saw hints of it in the previous 4 seasons. We saw a little bit of it during Rebels, but in the context of this show now, with Christensen back and the whole sequence in the World Between Worlds, it's like it really puts everything into perspective properly. And there's a full context where, like, yes, Ahsoka is struggling. She's always struggled with her role in the Clone Wars. What she had to do, she grew up in this really, she grew up in wartime. And she was a kid. And even though, by the time she was like an older teenager, she's never reconciled her feelings and with her experiences. So this is where, that has to happen now, because this is it. This is the last time she can do anything about it. Excuse me. And it's like just seeing Hayden Christensen in combat again with his signature lightsaber move, where he twirls the saber in the front and in the back, and it's like just having him fight Ahsoka or Rosario Dawson. It's like they have such good chemistry between the two of them, and it's not just them. But, like I said, there's flashbacks to Teth and to the Siege of Mandalore. And it's not Rosario Dawson playing young Ahsoka. We have another actress, Ariana Greenblatt, and she does such an amazing job. Like, I couldn't believe that I needed live-action young Ahsoka before having seen this episode. But now it's like the heart wants what the heart wants now. It's like I would love to see Hayden and Ian and Tamara and Ariana, again, seeing them in live action with some kind of a Clone Wars live action series. And it's like, oh yes, Captain Rex is back in live action, baby. And it's like, oh yes, this was amazing. So it's like, just the episode is just out of this world. And then you have the whole thing with Jason. He helps find Ahsoka, and that in itself was such a cool thing to see on the screen. But then it's like once that whole sequence resolves, then we shift gears a little bit, and it's back to the political intrigue, because now the Republic, having denied Hera the resources to pursue Thrawn and Ahsoka, they've sent someone to bring her back, because Hera, she went against orders and did what she wanted to do anyway. So we have this whole scene with Carson and Hera and the Republic ships that have come to take them back to Coruscant. And it's like, there's a bit of a wonder, there's a bit of a magic in all those scenes, because it's like, so this one thing bothers me about the show. It's like, a lot of the times the actors are slow with the dialogue delivery. They're taking their time, and they're just a tad too slow in their delivery. So it's like, I'm like, it's like, are they just talking slow, or what's going on? But it's like, I like it works with the dramatic aspect, and I think that's where the direction of this episode, like it really succeeded in the end, because it it makes it more immersive, right? It's a word I use a lot, but it really matters in a show like Ahsoka that deals with the esoteric nature of the Force, with the Jedi, with the Sith, Dark Force users, the Night Sisters, and so much more. It's like you need that sense of wonder, that sense of immersion, and you need it to bind everything together, and that's where this episode really succeeds. And in the end, we see that, that despite the map being destroyed by Balin at the end of episode 4, Ahsoka does find a way to follow Sabine and the village, and that's where again, more tie-ins with the Rebels, with how that show ended, and then we move into episode 6, as you can see on the screen here, in some scenes. Episode 6 is all about our villains getting to Peridia, the planet in the other galaxy that was a destination, and we learn that it's not just a random planet, but actually it's the ancestral homeworld of the Dathomiri Night Sisters, the witches of Dathomir. And it's like whoa! And even before that, when the villains get to Peridia in the outer edge of the planet, it's like they're talking about what Peridia is and what it's not, and Balin is like, yeah, this is the end of the migration route for the Purrgil star whales, and this is where they come to die, and that Peridia is a graveyard, which is like mind blown, right? And as you can see, the planet has this ring around it, like this huge massive rings, like Saturn does, or I think Neptune does for us in the real world. And it's like, for those planets, it's like those are the remnants of asteroids and protoplanets that destroyed and got caught up in the gravity. But for Peridia, it's more like this is the bones of the star whales, the Purrgils, and they surround the planet in this huge rings structure, which is like, oh god. And then we get down to the planet, and we see some great mothers, some knights or great mothers, and who is leading them? So there's 3 of them, and they're talking about the threads of fate, and the lead great mother is played by none other than Claudia Black, which was like, I never picked it up when I was watching the show, and I found it out later on social media, and I was like, oh my god, I love Claudia Black. She was amazing in Farscape, she was amazing in SG-1, and she was amazing in the Stargate movies, and she has such a huge body of work, and she's always been an amazing actress. And to see her in Star Wars was just like, it was another highlight of the show for me. And when I did my rewatch, I was like, oh yes, now I recognize her voice. So I'm so stupid, I should have recognized it. But anyways, yeah, so it's like, we get some hints about Greek mythology. The 3 great mothers, they're named after the actual Moirai, the women in Greek mythology who were known as the Fates, and they held the threads of actual fate for everybody, and they had sort of dominion over them. And like if you've seen the Disney Hercules, the animated movie, like see here, the 3 Night Sisters, the Great Mothers, that's Claudia Black in the center. When they're going to cut Hercules' thread of fate, and it's like, so that's the kind of role that they fulfill here in this show, in this episode. It's like, and they are the ones who actually brought Morgan to Peridia, and it's like a lot of things now start to make sense about why Morgan is trying to find Thrawn, what was her impetus to do that, and even it ties into Balin's story, because the power that he's trying to find, it's on Peridia, and we get some really interesting philosophical discussions between the Night Sisters and Balin and Shin, and with Morgan, and even with Thrawn. It's like, this is so interesting. This is the kind of stuff I've always wanted to see more of in Star Wars, because it's like, that's part and parcel of the universe, of the IP from the very first movie. And I want to see things more like this, and Clone Wars did such an amazing job. My god. And Rebels carried it forward as well. Although I think it sometimes went a little bit too overboard, as did Clone Wars, especially with the whole Mortis storyline. More than that some other time. But anyways, so this episode is all about finding Thrawn, having this big, huge meeting between the villains and Thrawn and with Sabine, and eventually also Sabine finding Ezra, because he's on the planet as well. He's been hiding from the Night Sisters and from Thrawn all this time. Although, how exactly he managed that is kind of like it's a bit silly, but I can kind of see why it's like that. But it's like, again, it was all really heartfelt. But I do have to say, as someone who's much more invested in Anakin's return, Ezra's return fell a bit flat for me because it didn't have as much emotional weight. Since I only watched Rebels like earlier this year, like in February or March, so my experience with the show isn't as it doesn't span as much of a time as my experience with the movies and with Clone Wars. So it's like, yeah, it works for other people, but I'm fine with how it's portrayed on screen. But one thing that I really find interesting that I thought took away a little bit from their meeting was that Sabine isn't honest with him about how she got to Paradia, even when he asks her. And I think that was something that was a mistake on her part. And I thought the way it was written, the writers didn't fully invest in the character. And because it's like, Sabine, that's a dumb move. You have to tell him what's going on because he doesn't know anything. He's just been trying to survive all this time, all these years. And it's been 2, 3, 4, 5 years or something. Jason has all grown up or whatever. So it's like, what's going on? But then, man, when the episode ends, and it's like, oh my god, we're probably gonna see Thrawn face off against Ahsoka, and it's like the Great Mothers are also afraid of Ahsoka, and it's like, oh my god, are we gonna get this huge battle? And it's like, it's like, it just gets me hyped. For a show like this, like Kenobi, it started off really wonky and then got better towards the end. But it's like Ahsoka has been on such a high all through, but it still does things that get you super hyped. And speaking of super hyped, as we saw in episode 4, Marok, he wasn't an actual person. He was a suit of armor animated by Night Sister death magic. And I think that the agreement that Thrawn made with the Great Mothers is also something similar, because when you see his ship, the Imperial Star Destroyer Chimera, come on the screen, it's like, it's a slow movement of the ship as it lands at the top of the Night Sister temple, and you see all the stormtroopers, and they're not in pristine white. It's like the armor has patches of gold and black, and it's a little grimy, and it's like, and even the ship itself is in a state of disrepair. There's massive sections missing. The engines aren't working altogether. It's like, but man, seeing an Imperial Star Destroyer on screen, it's been so long. If you think about it, in live action, because I think last time we saw it was in episode 8, The Last Jedi, or maybe, yeah, episode 8, Last Jedi. But even still, it's like an Imperial Star Destroyer. It's something, and seeing it on screen is something. So, I think all the stormtroopers that Thrawn has with him right now, they're all animated by Night Sister magic, because it's the way they talk, especially his captain of the guard, Enoch. It has the same voice quality and voice timbre as Marok did. So it's like, man, there's so much going on in this episode, and I really cannot wait to see episode 7. And as soon as I'm done with this review, I'm just gonna go ahead and watch it. And it's like, I'm so hyped. There's so much I want to see, and I think there's so much that the writers are packing into every episode, every installment each week. And it's like, the cinematography is amazing, the costumes are amazing, the actors are all doing such a great job, and it's like, this is exactly what I want Star Wars to be in live action. Amazing actors, amazing stories, and I just cannot wait for what's gonna happen next. So, anyways, guys, this was my review for episodes 5 and 6. Thank you for sticking around for video. And if you want to follow more, you can find my social media links in the description below. So please check it out. Check out my other reviews, and check out my stream whenever you can. And hopefully, I'll have my episode 7 review down sometime today as well. And we'll see each other again. Cheers, guys. Bye. See y'all later.